Well, hello, good evening. Welcome to Third Place Books, virtual Third Place Books. And wherever you're joining us from this evening, we are thrilled to have you here. One of the really cool things about this virtual event series that we've been doing since almost the beginning of the year at this point now is that we get to welcome people from all around the country, folks who wouldn't ordinarily be able to join us here at one of our Seattle stores. So really cool to have people from all over the place here tonight. And thank you if you're just joining us for the first time. If you're not joining us for the first time, if you've maybe attended events in our stores before, you may recognize me. My name is Sam. I work in our author events program for our three stores here in the Seattle area, Lake Forest Park, Ravenna, and Seward Park. And on behalf of all of us here at Third Place Books, I am thrilled to welcome you to an event for a book that we're very excited about, and we know a lot of you have been very excited about. I've handed this book to several very pleased customers in the last week, and I hope some of you are out there tonight. I think you'll want this book, especially after months cooped up in quarantine at the end of the evening, and we'll be able to help you out with that. I have just a couple of announcements to make before we begin. First of all, of course, we are here tonight to celebrate a book, and the book is 24 Ways to Move More. It's the new book from Nicole Tsong. It is out from our friends at Mountaineers Books here in Seattle, Mountaineers Press. I'm going to drop a link in the chat in just a moment to order this book. I know a lot of folks have already ordered it. I've been seeing orders coming in and seeing books going out, but we will drop a link in the chat there that you can click on to order the book tonight and have it put aside to pick up at one of our three neighborhood stores if you're here in the Seattle area, or shipped anywhere in the country. We ship USPS Media Mail starting at just $3.50 to destination of your choice, and supporting the U.S. Postal Service, which of course small businesses like ours rely on every day. When you click on the link, I warned Nicole about this earlier. The link keeps popping up saying that the book is unavailable. Ignore this. This is a website glitch. We apologize. We're working to fix it. Order away. You'll be excited about 24 Ways to Move More. We definitely are. And click on that. We'll send you a book, and I think you'll enjoy it. And we'll also drop links to Nicole's other books and to Maria Hines' book as well. And there's some good stuff out there. So I hope that you will check it out. Your book purchase is what allows Third Place Books to keep doing what we do, to keeps this author series going. It is also what keeps authors like Nicole Tsong and Maria Hines writing and working and teaching us, which we need so much right now. So don't be shy. Pick up a book or three, and we thank you for it. Now, if you have a question tonight, at the end of the event, we will do some Q&A. Down at the bottom of your screen there is a button that says Q&A. You can click on that button, and you can type your question in there, and we'll get to them, as many as we can, at the end of the evening. So again, if you've got good questions, or if you think of good questions throughout the event, you can drop them right in there. And there may be something else coming up on our events calendar that you will enjoy. If you enjoy tonight's event, I encourage you to check out our website. thirdplacebooks.com is the place to go. You can check out our events calendar. We're doing 2 to 3 of these author events, sometimes more, every week virtually right now. Great authors from the comfort of your living room, or wherever you are, from the comfort of my living room. And you can tune into these. Many of them are free, happening right on this platform on Zoom webinar. You can also check out our email newsletter. We're sending out emails all the time. Once a week, we're sending out an email letting you know what's new and what's coming up in our online programming. You can also follow us on social media. We're at Third Place Books on most of the major platforms, where you can get up-to-the-minute updates about what we've got coming up. And we hope that we'll see you here on the internet again with your favorite authors. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And now, without further ado, I am so thrilled to welcome a couple of Seattle favorites for a new book that I think will become a Seattle favorite. Tonight we're here with Nicole Tsong. She's a fitness expert and a yoga teacher based in Seattle, who for years wrote the popular Fit for Life column in the Seattle Times. Many of you may be readers. Nicole is the author of Yoga for Hikers and Yoga for Climbers. I'll drop links to both of those into the chat. And she's taught yoga for more than a decade, including 3 years at the White House Easter egg roll. She lives here in Seattle, where she runs a work-life coaching business, helping high-achieving women of color find their calling and know why they're here, and stop living their lives by other people's rules. In her spare time, you'll find her in the mountains with her pup Coco or lovingly tending her houseplants. And if you stick around to the end of the broadcast tonight, we will be dropping a cool free giveaway from Nicole into the chat as well. So keep an eye out for that. We'll talk about that a little later in the program. Joining Nicole tonight, we are so thrilled to have Maria Hines. A James Beard Award winner for Best Chef Northwest, Maria Hines' commitment to seasonal, local, and certified organic is unwavering. She blends this commitment with her high standards for impeccable service at Tilth Restaurant and Tilth Catering. A leader in the restaurant sustainability community, Maria donates her time to such causes as the James Beard Foundation Sustainability Programs, American Chef Corps, food equality for low-income families, and other food system advocacy and access programs. She was one of Food and Wine magazine's top 10 best new chefs. She competed in Top Chef Masters before going on to Food Network to win Food Network's Iron Chef America Battle of Pacific Cod. She was a semifinalist for a James Beard Award for Outstanding Chef 2013, and she is the author of Peak Nutrition, which we will be talking about a little bit tonight as well. Please, from wherever you are tonight, join me in welcoming Nicole Tsong and Maria Hines.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Hi, Nicole. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Maria. I'm doing great. It's so good to have you here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about your new book. Congratulations. This is your third book now?
Yes, it is.
That's wonderful. That's great. 24 Ways to Move More. Can you tell me a little bit about your inspiration for writing the book? Like, I've been flipping through it over the past few weeks, and it's really incredible. It's really inspiring. Like, I want to give this to every single one of my family members, and definitely a few of my friends. Like, I would love to get this in my mom's hands for sure. And for me, like, I'm super inspired. Like, I tend to move a lot, but during COVID, I've not been moving as much because I've been working a little bit more, and there's more distractions currently. So I'm curious to know how, why you wrote the book, and why you think it's such an important time right now to have released it.
Well, I didn't actually really think about this as its own book. It was a friend of mine who actually came up with the idea, and her name is Katie Bowman, and she's actually a big movement teacher and movement mentor. And we were on a 20-mile walk where you have, 7 to 8 hours to talk about stuff. And we were talking about the column. So I wrote Fit for Life for 6 years, and Fit for Life evolved essentially into a column where I just tried a new activity every single week. And she's like, well, why don't you turn that into a book? And I was like, oh, well, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, because I had tried, at the end, the tally was more than 300 classes.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, yeah, there was a lot. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is a lot of knowledge. And I think a big part of it for me, too, is people would often say, like, oh, I don't know if I could do all these things. What do you really think? And they would ask me for advice around moving more or trying some of the classes that I had tried. And I wanted to say, well, actually, the thing is, you can, too. Right. All I did, it was a column, so I was writing it every week. But really what I felt like, the one thing I really learned, so the big thing I learned actually when I was writing that column is that I was always going to be a beginner. Like, it was the nature of what I was doing is every month I'd try 3 or 4 new things. I was definitely not good at pretty much 95% of everything I was trying. And so every time I'd go to an intro class, I wouldn't be good at it. And then I would move on and try something else new. But it actually made me really good at trying new things and being bad at trying new things and being okay with being bad at it, which honestly I think is a real life skill right now, and a life skill in general. And what I work with people on who come into in my coaching business, it's like, well, how can we actually start to be really good at trying new things, and then being a little bit more resilient about trying new things through movement. So then we actually get a little bit more resilient around challenge and change, especially like right now during the quarantine was like a big one, where I felt like that muscle of trying new things actually came in handy. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to shift my life, totally do things a little bit differently. And then a lot of what I learned from doing the book helped me a lot from the column. So that's really where the inspiration came. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So it's more than just movement. It's a mindfulness practice as well. That's really nice.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I noticed like in the first part of the book, you talk about not being an athlete. Can you tell me
Mhm.
what that means? Because it sounds like you're trying all sorts of different activities all the time, and you wrote for, the Seattle Times, a Fit for Life column, and you have a yoga for climbers and book out, and a yoga for hikers, and now this book. That sounds like an athlete to me.
It sounds like it, doesn't it, Maria? I know.
Yeah.
I really, it is really funny because I think I surprised myself when I realized how much stuff I did that was like really movement oriented. Because when I was a kid, I was an ice skater, like I did ice skating and ballet. And then when I was in high school, I did tennis. But even then, I don't know, you strike me as like you were like an athlete when you were little, but I wasn't really an athlete. Like to me, the athletes were like the girls who played soccer or basketball, like they were playing like intense team sports and really physical, and they play all sports year round. I was like a one sport kind of kid. So I didn't identify that way. I didn't think of myself as particularly strong or really athletic. And then, and then I went into my adult years and I got a job, and I was even less athletic then. Like I moved way less once I got into my 20s. And then even too, like when I started to teach yoga and the Seattle Times asked me to write the column, I was like, I don't, I'm not a fitness columnist. I'm a yoga teacher. And like in my mind, it was still just like a thing that I did that was like very particular. Like I loved yoga and I loved the practice. But once I started to do things a lot for the column, and especially when I started to do like cross-functional fitness and I started to move in different ways, and now I do Olympic weightlifting and a lot of other things, I realized, oh, like I'm a lot stronger than I gave myself credit for. But I also will give credit to my gym because their ethos is that if you have a body, you're an athlete. Because really, anybody, as long as you're moving your body, you're using muscles, you're pushing yourself, you're getting stronger. And I think that was what really helped me also as well. I didn't have to like win events or win competitions or be so good or the best at anything to be an athlete. I just had to be challenging myself and getting stronger. And that's actually all it takes. So I kind of think of it that way. Like the book is really designed for people of all ages, because I think that a lot of us were like, well, I'm not an athlete, so I'm just not even really going to try. And I'm like, well, you have a body. Like you can do things too. All of us can do things.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And I really love the accountability pieces that you have in the beginning, because it's really easy to kind of fall into the trap of like, I'm working 7 days a week. I don't have time to like, move my body or whatever it is. I was up all night because I have a newborn, and, so I don't have time. But you have some really nice ways in the beginning to just kind of talk about the definition of what exercise and what movement can look like. Can you talk a little bit about what movement can look like when people are short on time?
For sure. I think that one of the real challenges is a lot of us think of movement as fitness. And so we're like, oh, I have to go to a class and I have to be hard and I have to sweat a bunch. And then it's official. I've like taken a class, right? Whereas, right, I know, I do it too.
Yeah, I was like, isn't that what it is? Like,
Yeah, like, and I love classes too. Don't get me wrong. I love a good hard class. But really, movement is so many more things than that. Like movement, a 15-minute walk. Like for me, actually, allowing a walk to be movement was a game changer, because I used to think of it as kind of like not really hard. I don't know if that's really challenging me. But honestly, there's so many studies around walking in terms of like long-term health and also protecting your brain and all of these things, that the more you walk, the healthier you are over the course of your life. And so that was helpful for me. And then I have to say, if you ever take like a long walk, 5 miles, 8 miles, like you're tired at the end. Like that is not as easy as you might think. So that piece helped me a lot. And so then when I realized too, it's like, well, if I'm just trying to walk all day long, in my mind, it's like, you don't have to go for a 5-mile walk. You can walk 15 minutes 4 times, and then all of a sudden you have an hour-long walk that's happened over the course of your day. So that's part of the thing. I think for many of us, it's like we think we have to take the half-hour drive, or, you know, get on the Zoom call and do the intense workout and have a full hour where you could actually just be like, well, I have 15 minutes, so I'm just going to go outside and walk around for a little while. And then just helping yourself realize and expand what movement can look like. It can look like, honestly, rolling out your, you know, your feet or whatever it is in front of the television, like just doing something for yourself that's like helping your body. That to me is movement. And I think if we can take it out of the fitness box, it's a lot more helpful, because everybody is busy. You know what I mean? Like everyone I know, me too, like we get really maxed out. So it's like, how can you find just those little spaces through the day and give yourself permission to like let movement be whatever you have time for, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's been really inspiring. I mean, even just this morning, playing fetch with the dog, like I throw the ball for him, and then I just started doing air squats, because I was like, Nicole says, just like every opportunity, like use it as an opportunity to move more. So instead of throwing the ball and kind of waiting for him to come back, I just did as many air squats as I could. And then when he came back, you know, did it again. And
how'd you feel?
It was great. It felt like my hamstrings are tight, and
Yeah.
but that's good, right? Because
Yeah.
you provided an opportunity through movement for me to get in touch with my body and listen to those signals and realize, wow, my hamstrings are a little tight. I should probably get on a yoga mat later today, or maybe doing the squats on the next round, do some hamstring stretches or whatever. But that's nice how you really open it up to not just, you know, this is the 45-minute workout time, put in the earbuds and like have like a very focused workout, but just to have it happening throughout your day. And then it also looks like you really embrace the play and the fun and movement. What are ways in which people can incorporate it and embrace the fun that you put in that playfulness that you put into your movement practice?
Well, again, I think a lot of it, and this was me too, like we think of it, it's like I have to go to the gym and do the elliptical. And I don't know about you, but I would just, that is the worst. I could not spend my time that way. 30 minutes on an elliptical is like literally, it would just not be, it's not fun for me.
Yeah.
So for me, and one of the big things I learned over during the course of the column is that if it's fun, you'll keep doing it. And I think a lot of the reason people don't do fitness or stuff in general is because they're like, oh God, that's so boring, or I don't really like it, or I feel like it's not interesting. But if you can find something that's actually really fun, you're much more likely to go do it again. And one of the ideas behind the book is to actually find more things that you think are fun, because everyone's idea of fun, honestly, when it comes to movement is different. Like, I can't even tell you, like, there's like a bazillion types of martial arts. Like there's so many kinds of dance. Like there's all these things. And if you think it's fun, then you'll keep going. And what I have found personally over time is that movement for me in general is fun. Like there's very few types of movement that I don't find fun, like just the elliptical probably. And so for me, like everything is fun. So then I'm like, oh, well, I want to go, because like I'm going to have fun trying something new or doing different things. And even things that might not seem like, so I take a tap dance class. We've been on hiatus, but like that class is very difficult for me. Like it really strains my brain, and sometimes I'm like, ooh. But the challenge of it is actually fun for me. Like at the end, like being able to do that choreography and trying something really challenging does eventually become fun for me. And so I think that what people too is like, you can have like do something that's fun at the beginning. And then I actually really think that if you keep doing new things or trying different things, your understanding and evolution of fun will shift too, right? Like what is fun for you? For me, actually being challenged is fun, both movement wise and like just in my life. Like movement has taught me that challenge and growth is actually fun. And that's something I work with people on. Like for me, like this book for sure was a challenge to put together, to write it, but that to me is actually fun, like to grow and expand myself. And my movement practice has really taught me a lot around that. And again, that's like a lot what I work with people on, is like, how do you actually take on growth and actually find it something that is expansive rather than something that's scary or overwhelming.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And that with the 24 different ways that you show us how to move in the book, do you still carry on that practice of trying new and different things every month, or have you kind of found your repertoire the 24 things and you kind of rotate through them so it stays, to keep it interesting, or how do you,
Yeah.
do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I think when it first ended, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to take a break because I was running around a lot. And then now I feel like, it's been on pause a little bit. I feel like when I'm ready to try something different again, like I went wake surfing a few weeks ago with a friend, and that was like so much fun to try something different and new I had never done before. And I was like, oh, I miss it. Like I miss just taking on something different. But I think, so I have like my standard movements and the things that I do, which are walking and yoga, hiking, and weightlifting. And I always do some mix of those throughout the week. But then I like to do one still thing that's different or fun. And for me, actually, usually it's like a dance class. And so just because that is really outside my comfort zone, like even though I did ballet as a kid, I'm really not a very good dancer. Like I can't choreography, like I maxed out at 16 counts. And so anytime someone's pushing me past that, I'm like, my brain goes to the edge, but it's fun and it's a good challenge. And so for me, like I kind of try to keep dance in the mix as much as possible, because that's probably the one I miss the most. Like I probably tried 40 types of dance over 6 years. And I really think it's so, there's so many, dance is literally every culture has a dance, like everything, there's so many kinds of dance. And so I like dance classes for me is like the edge, like the fun and edge and like out of my comfort zone for movement. And then the other ones kind of are like my staples. That's
awesome. And I bet with the dance too, if it's something that you're challenged by, and if you're saying that, it's not one of your strengths, just that opening yourself up emotionally and mentally to that process must be really, really kind of therapeutic in that sense. Yeah, it is. And I think that there's you have to focus so much. So that's the other thing about trying new things, is that you have to focus so much that you have to be super present and you have to be super connected. And to me, that's where movement is really the most powerful. It's like, you can't be distracted by work or thinking about all the things on your list or whatever it is. And like for a lot of people, like my work-life balance coaching clients, for them, it's like, if you're not moving through the day, some of them get super stressed or want to make career changes. And I'm like, you have to move, like you have to move throughout the day. And some of them, like taking walks in the middle of the day helps them through that stress and anxiety so that they can then relax, right? Like it focuses their brain back on their body and whatever is going on. And then they actually have more clarity. And there's actually all these studies that show that you have more focus for up to 2 hours after just 30 minutes of any kind of cardio exercise. And so it's like, well, yeah, right. So that's for me, like I have a mandatory 2-hour break from my workday every day where I eat lunch and I walk the dog, because I know I'm better afterward. Like I can focus again, I can work with clients. Yeah. And so there's actually studies on that. So if people are like, you're walking, you're like, because I'm going to be really focused afterward. But it is true. Like you probably have noticed if you were doing those air squats, like I come back in and I can actually really dial in on work. But before that, I'm just sort of like, I'm like, I need coffee or I need something else. And I look for all these other things. But if I take a walk, like I can do all those things on my own. Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah. That makes a bunch of sense. And then what do you recommend, like for, for your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system? Like, do you have different movement practices that you would recommend for either one of those? Like if you're trying to calm your system down, let's say, this is great. I'm interviewing you all about you and your book, but I'm getting so much great information out of this. Is it okay? I'm just asking you all of these. Yeah, I want to be asked lots of questions. Yeah, for sure. So like, if I'm trying to wind my body down after work, but let's say I didn't have time to get a bunch of movement in during the day and I still need to get a little bit more movement, what sort of exercises would you recommend for wind down, and what sort of exercises would you recommend to wind up? Those are great questions. I think it depends a little bit on your state in general, right? So if you needed movement in the evening, I would honestly just walk, like just to get steps in, get your body moving, because it'll get energy flowing, but it's not super intense, right? Like it'll just clear your mind and get you into a good place. But sometimes you're tired. So like this, like I had my book came out last week, and then on Sunday I went on a big hike, and yesterday I was honestly physically really tired. But for me, instead of saying, okay, now a rest day means I do nothing, I just went on slow walks.
And then I did restorative yoga, or like really dialed down yoga, right? So like I still do things like that to take care of myself. Like I don't have to go hard, intense all the time, although I do love like super strong, intense activity. But then, yeah, like I might do a more gentle yoga class in the evening is like a really great way to wind down. If you want to spend time with your family and you're just like, well, get out some roller balls and then just start to roll your tissue out, like just start to help your body get some more blood flow, wind down, that kind of stuff at night. Because you do need that parasympathetic nervous system, right? That sort of chill moment that comes over us. We all live in overstimulated lives in general. And now we're spending all our time in screens. And so there's this constant inundation, and I feel it myself too. And so sometimes we just need like phones down, TV off, or whatever, just like roll out on the floor a little bit, stretch your body, chill down, or take a walk and like no devices, that kind of thing.
That's great.
I don't know if I answered your wind up part. That's just me. I like something hard every day personally, unless I'm on a chill day.
And do you usually in the morning or in the evening or midday?
You know, so you want to know my whole movement schedule? So every morning, yeah, so I walk the dog every morning for an hour. So that's always my first thing. And this is like before I start work. So I'm always like up, I have like a whole routine. I walk the dog and then I sit down and I start working. And then I usually do something middle of the day or end of the day. So middle of the day, I might do a yoga class. And then I usually do a walk also. Or it might be the walk, and then the end of the day, it's either like a physical strong, like a cross-functional fitness class, or yoga at the end of the day. My standard days, I'm usually just on and off of Zoom. So I'm taking like one class and then I walk 4 to 5 miles a day.
That's great. That's wonderful. And then what about motivation? Can you speak to motivation? Let's say someone isn't moving their body at all.
Mm-hmm.
I have some family members that they just, they're not moving their body for one reason or another. Whether it's a joint pain or whatever. What would you, how would you start someone out from not moving to starting to move?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Well, first of all, this one is a little bit more nuanced for people who don't move at all. But I will say your body really hurts also from not moving. Like it's literally achy. Like for me, if I spend too much time on the couch, like my body hurts. Like go on a road trip, like there's a reason we feel really achy. Not moving is actually really hard on your body. But if it's someone who like they're not quite aware of that or not even feeling that or noticing that in their body, I can't remember where I learned this, but it's actually one of my things. Like do one thing that will help, like will get you there. So just put your shoes on. So if like, it's just literally a walk around the block, all you have to do is if you stand up and put your shoes on, you'll probably go. But if you tell yourself you have to go on a walk, you might not actually go. Like I get like this around hiking sometimes because there can be so much prep and I have to get all my crap together and the dog stuff and all these things. And in the morning, I'm like, am I really getting up to drive 2 hours to go hike for 6? Like my mind can get a little bit overwhelmed by it. But if I just pull my backpack out, I'll do it, right? Like if I just go to the closet, I pull it out, I just start doing all the things that it will take for me to go on that hike. So I think for you, it's always just like, what is the one thing, if you just remember, if you do one thing that will actually get you to move. I think for most people, putting shoes on, honestly, is going to be the key step. Like just put your shoes on and then see what happens after that. Like no one's going to put their shoes on and then just go sit back on the couch. Or maybe you would, but I feel like probably not. You're like, well, I got my shoes on, I may as well go.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Sometimes what I'll do if I'm trying to like kind of get back into it, if I just want to remind myself of what my movement practice is for the day, whether it's lifting or, whether it's running or whether it's climbing, is I'll put my, whatever it is, the activity is for the next day. I'll like put it in my room out where I can see it when I get up in the morning, coffee. So it'll be like my running shoes, my earbuds, and like my running. So when I wake up in the morning, the choice is taken away from me. I look and I see them and I'm like, you are running today. Okay. And
right. Like you
before I like, my mind wakes up enough to even like be judgy about it. Like look at it, I see it there and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing. So
Oh, for sure. For me too, like I just roll my yoga mat out and then I'm like, oh, that's there. I guess I'm getting there now. You know, like I guess I'll take a class now.
Now
Yeah.
you're gonna like get on it, you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. That's
for
great.
sure.
Wonderful. So you said that the dance classes were your absolute favorites. Is there any particular style of dance that you were really drawn to?
Um, I really liked all the kinds of dance. I take tap because I actually really like tap, even though I find tap very technical and very hard.
Yeah, really.
The book has hip hop dance, which I actually really love too. I like the choreographed classes. Like I like classes that are, even though I love sort of freeform, like Zumba's in there as well. There's all these different kinds of classes that are freeform dance, which I think are very liberating, like energetically, really, really fun. But
Yeah.
I love the choreography because I think there's just like a cool technique to it. And then you just have to focus and then try to get your body to move all these different parts at the same time. Very difficult. So I like those because it just challenges me so much because I'm definitely like I don't know, like I like strong, powerful movements. Like put me in any kind of super strong physical class and I'm really into it. But dance is art and technique and it's much softer in a certain way. And I have to just dial into that. And even though again, it's so my brain fries so quickly in those classes, I really love the challenge.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it puts you right into flow mode, because that's
Yeah,
the only thing that you can pay that you can pay attention to.
yeah, for
Time.
sure.
Kind of going back, I just want to say I love how you were talking about if you're having more of a rest day or if your body is feeling tired, you'll do more of a restorative yoga practice or you'll roll on a ball or foam roller. I love the fact that you still commit to the time for your movement practice, like just because you can't do like this really hard all out 100% 110% like workout, you still kind of protect that time to make sure that that habit is still there and that you're still getting that movement.
Well, this is the thing, Maria, is I really feel like movement to me, it's like it's a big way for us to get connected to self and to purpose. And so if I don't do it, it means I'm not putting myself first, which I think is a big thing a lot of women especially don't do. It's like you're not putting yourself first, you're putting your team first, you're putting other people first, you're putting projects, your kids, your dog, like literally everybody except yourself. So for me, movement is like a really huge way of taking care of myself. Like I always think of it that way. And then also when you're wanting to get connected to self and you're like, there's just big things that you're up to in the world. And like, for me, it's like really important to be like an Asian American woman standing up in her voice. And if I'm not moving and taking care of myself, like I'm not going to do those things because I get stressed, I get anxious, I get overwhelmed by life. But like when I move my body, I can clear my mind. I can get connected back to what I'm doing and what I care about. And that's actually a big reason. Like, yes, of course it is for me to sleep better because of course I want to sleep better. But it's also just for me to feel like myself every day, and I think that that's actually been probably, the hardest thing for people during quarantine is to feel grounded and like yourself. And now we've got an election and people are getting really stressed out. And to me, it's like, well, bring in movement, right? Get back to yourself so that you can actually handle stuff because life is, I don't know about you, but life is just going to keep throwing things at you. So it's like, how do you take care of yourself in the process? And movement is such an essential thing for me for taking care of myself.
That's a great point. That's a really good point that things are just going to continue to, to unfold and to happen. So, it's important we fit in there.
Doesn't seem like it's stopping.
Yeah. So you just talked about, getting good sleep and that being important. Can you talk a little bit about sleep hygiene and the importance of it and different tips that you have for good sleep hygiene?
Sure. Well, we'll say if you move a lot and you're tired, you'll sleep better. So there's that piece of it. But
That's
I
great.
also, for me, right. Like if I hike, if I do a long, hard hike, I'm so tired, like I just conk out. But that's not possible every day. I would say, media, social media, and then just also being online in general is to me the biggest thing to cut off first to help yourself sleep better. Like I try to set time limits on myself and it just depends. Sometimes I'm good about it. Sometimes I'm not as good about it. But the other thing I think that is actually important is in the morning is to not go on to those things right away. Like that's actually, to me, some people, a lot of my clients do this, like they get up in the morning and I always require them to do something before they touch their phone.
Like that.
No phones in bed. Like I'm like, you can turn your alarm off and that's it. But like a lot of them actually will get up in the morning and then they actually stretch. Like their morning ritual is like 10 minutes of stretching because it just helps them do that. I meditate, but everybody has a different way, but you can do a movement practice literally the first thing out of bed. Like just stretch on the floor, get into your body, just feel like do some deep breathing. And then like you can build it in as its own morning. And that actually helps you. Cause it's like, to me, it's like, well, you did sleep or hopefully you slept already. Are you wasting that sleep by like putting your mind into some crazy tailspin by reading your email in bed? So don't do that. Like go stretch on the floor and then, or go for a walk first thing, like get your coffee, go on a walk, like just help yourself settle your mind. And then that actually also helps you preserve the sleep you actually got versus like setting your brain off right away as soon as you wake up.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's super smart. So you touched a little bit on nutrition earlier. Can you talk about that? And you mentioned it in the book as well, which is great. How do you eat for your movement practice and just for your, like overall like wellness lifestyle? What are some key pointers, takeaways that you could recommend to folks on what that looks like?
For sure. I think it's always useful to just try some of the ones that are out there like Whole30 or Paleo or whatever, and just start to know your body and get in touch with how it feels. Like for myself, alcohol for sure is just not, it just doesn't help me. Like I had like, and I'm not saying don't drink. I'm just saying like, if you were like, for me, if I want to get up and go on a hike, having a glass of wine the night before is actually not going to feel that great. So I won't drink like that, right? Sugar is also another one for me too. It's like if I eat a ton of sugar, my energy totally gets really sluggish. It affects my sleep. And so I'm always looking at things like that. Dairy can affect me a lot. And then I go in and out on carbs, but I think that everybody, like just eating more vegetables and good proteins is really useful. And I'll say this because I really love Maria's book, Peak Nutrition. And because of her, I like hard boil eggs and like bring them with me hiking now. And like I bring carrots and my dog loves the eggs and carrots. And so we have like our snack on the top of the mountain eating like that. But I think in general, it's just like trying to eat whole foods and like just eating as healthy as possible, whatever that is for you. But again, like the inflammatory foods, alcohol and sugar in particular, are the ones I was kind of try to keep an eye on if I'm not feeling that great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had noticed that you had mentioned the Whole30 diet and anti-inflammatory, just to kind of see where your body is at and almost like a little bit of a reset. And then it sounds like you've done some cleanse type diets. Yeah. Is that the same thing? You're just kind of resetting your system and then slowly introducing foods back into it?
Yeah, I feel like I've tried so many things. I've done a lot of ones. I did a lot of ones for the column. Like I did a bone broth diet and I've done ketogenic, and I've tried a lot of different things to see how I feel. And then through that, I've kind of adjusted and I go in and out on like what I'm doing. I mean, I always try to eat a very vegetable and protein generally heavy diet. And then everything else kind of comes in and out and it comes and goes. But I'm Chinese, so I love rice. Like rice is always part of my diet in some fashion.
Rice is delicious.
It's hard for me to give up rice, but I love, so I always just try to, in moderation on all the other good stuff and not going overboard with it.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And you have some ingredients over there on the side?
I do. I was excited because I've always wanted to secretly have my own cooking show. And since Maria's here, I was like, can we make something fun? So I have the ingredients here for peanut butter and jelly energy bars, which is in her book, Peak Nutrition, which I've got here too. And Maria, will you like talk me through putting this together?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Super, super, super easy to put together. Literally, you just get a big bowl and then you take all of your ingredients.
I don't have to mix them in the order of the recipe.
Doesn't have to be in a particular order or anything. Yeah.
All right, then I'm just going to start putting, so I have the honey in here and I have peanut butter in there.
Great.
Yep. And then I can just put in whatever.
Yeah, and you can use any sort of nut butter too. Like, this one, peanut butter, but you know, any sort of nut butter. I know there's a lot of people that have peanut allergies, so
Right.
yeah.
You could do like almond butter or cashew butter or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And then I got raspberry, but but you could just do whatever flavor you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cookbook is, you know, the ratios, you know, it's nice to follow the ratios in the cookbook, but you know, definitely there's lots of room to play. Do you do a lot of cooking at home?
I do cook a lot. I love to cook.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Okay, I think my butter solidified, but I did have melted butter. But I noticed that helped me because, like, you know how the nut butters these days, they like separate so easily, but the butter helps it like kind of mix up better.
Yeah, it kind of binds everything back together. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I'll just tell you guys what I have. So I have cinnamon and salt. I can just kind of pretend like and then I got flaxseed. What does the flaxseed do? You tell me. You're the expert on this one.
Yeah. Flaxseed's really good for inflammation. It's good for inflammation, and it's also really good for brain health. There's good omegas in there, so yeah.
I have a big bag of it now, so I'll use it more. And then the sunflower seeds.
Yeah, and you can do the whole flax. Like if I do too many, like I like a little bit of the little flax seeds.
Yeah.
But if I need a larger amount, a lot of times I'll get it ground because I'll get they get a little slimy when you have like too
many.
Texturally, I don't like it quite as much, but it's such a great thing to put in your body, and it helps increase the caloric intake. And you know, for you being a hiker, you know, and for me, if I'm out climbing or whatever, if you're out for a day, or I mean, who cares if you're your office or whatever, just having something that's nutritionally dense but also lightweight. Important for me when I'm moving outside, because I want something that you know, isn't gonna, like if I'm climbing a big wall and I have my you know, all of my supplies that I have to literally haul up, you know, pitch with me, it's important to have like the light, like dense, most, you know, nutritionally dense items I can have. So that's what this is. This recipe is one of those.
Cool. And I missed the memo in the book that you can buy puffed quinoa, so I popped my own quinoa.
Oh, nice.
I know. I was like, what does she mean puffed quinoa? So I looked it up and I popped my own.
How fun is that?
I mean, I was like, apparently, you know, you can pop quinoa like popcorn. I did not know that. So that's what I learned on the internet and then from the book. And then I have a little vanilla I just put in there. All right, so I'm gonna mix this up.
Well, while you're mixing that up, we have a question that came up here. Let's see. Susan asks, have you tried belly dancing and Bollywood? Fun and great movement.
Yes. I always say that was like my favorite party trick when we were doing parties, is ask me if I've done it before. And I've tried almost everything. There's a few things I haven't tried, but yes, I tried Bollywood, which is really fun. That hip movement is challenging, and same with belly dancing. Those were early on, probably the first year of the column. I'm adding oats, by the way. It's sort of funny because I don't like oatmeal, Maria. It's like one of the few foods I don't like, but I like oat bars. Those are really good. This is like it's kind of like oatmeal, like a lot of stuff you put in oatmeal.
Yeah. It makes a big textural difference when it's nice and compact in a bar versus more of a I don't know what you would call it, you know, that oatmeal
that's soft,
kind of gruely consistency. I mean, I'm a fan of gruel, so if you like gruel, you don't like gruel or that porridgey kind of, you know, consistency.
So, this smells so good. This is it. It's just like this mix. But you guys are this is how you know I really wanted to have a cooking show. I made some bars and I took them hiking on Saturday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I made some. And I was like literally hiking down. I never eat while I hike, but I was like thinking about them on the way down the mountain. So I like pulled out the bar and ate it while I was walking.
Oh, wow.
It was delicious.
Where'd you go? Where'd you hike?
I went to Lake Lillian up on the pass, Snoqualmie Pass.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I haven't been there.
Super beautiful. I definitely recommend it. Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
Lake Lillian.
And yeah, my dog got to swim. It was fantastic.
Oh.
I'm going to eat a bite while we talk.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is what
Oh
I was
wow.
like, oh, I get, when
Those
you have
look
your own cooking show, you get to eat food while people watch.
right. Those they look beautiful. They look like they turned out really nice.
They did. They're delicious.
Yeah, and they'll last forever. Like I've had a whole box of those in a shoe box in the bottom of my van for 3 weeks on a rock trip, and they were just as delicious on the 21st day as they,
That's
they didn't need any
awesome.
refrigeration or anything.
Well, they're way better than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because they're like way more durable.
Yeah. Well, and actually healthier too, because it's, the rolled oats, but there really isn't any refined carbs in there either.
Yeah, they're so good.
Well, let's see. We got another question here. Do you recommend walking with AirPods, listening to music or books to help walk longer? Oh, that's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question. Well, I always think of it like, what's the intention of the walk? And to me, it also depends on time of day and if I'm with somebody or not. So the morning for me is absolutely like me time. And it's also the time for me to get clear on my day. And so, because that's the time where like my mind can kind of churn from appointments and whatever is going on that day. And so I always use that time to just ask myself good questions and get really clear and steady on stuff that I need to kind of figure out that morning. So I use it that way. In the middle of the day, my mid-afternoon walk tends to be a walk where I might need a little bump up in energy, or I might be feeling a little bit stressed from something that happened that morning. So I might use that time to listen to music, or I use that time to listen to a podcast or something. And then in the evening, but I also use that sometimes to talk to friends, and the evening would be the same thing. Like sometimes I talk to somebody I want to talk to that I miss or doesn't live here, or just to like get a little quick walk around the neighborhood. So it just depends. For me, like I already kind of usually have preset times for the length of time that I'm walking and like walks that I have. So I would give yourself more like a time frame rather than distance, and then just see how far you can go. And then whatever you want to do on the walk, I think always works.
So
good questions.
Yeah, those are really good questions. Let's see here. Just kind of cruising through, making sure I didn't miss anything in the chats here. In the chat, everyone, there's a recipe here for what Nicole just made. There's also some information on where you can buy the book, all three of the books actually. And keep in mind, we got a little freebie at the end here. And let's see what else we have. Let's see, just a reminder. Oh, okay, there we go. Talking about the new book. Great. Well, what else would you like to share, Nicole? This book it's really such a gift. Thank you so much. Like, I'm so happy that you put it out and you shared it with the world, because it is something that's so important. And it's just the timing as an author trying to sell books sucks that it came out, but the timing for the topic of this book that you're releasing right now, is such an important topic. And, I think it's a really meaningful, and you framed it in such a nice way where, like you said, it's for all different, ages, different body types, different lifestyles, and just the fact that, you're embracing any sort of movement for anyone, and you do a really nice job at removing the barriers.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like that's really important, because again, I really do subscribe to, like, if you have a body, you can move. So say you can't really walk well or something else, like there's chair yoga. Like there's so many a lot of different ways to start to think about how to move. And the thing is, the more you start to move, and people were asking like, what if you feel overwhelmed? I've had this question a lot. Like, what if you're afraid? What if you have fear of failure? Like, I don't want to try something new. What if I'm not good at it? And that's really, I think, the point. Like, I spent the first 2 years of writing Fit for Life, like really nervous for every time I would go, because I would have to go to these classes. And they always knew I was coming from the paper, and it was always trying something I had never done before. Like, you know, you're going into a jujitsu class and you've never done it. You're like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? And so I think that for us as adults in particular, this is actually a skill set that we underestimate as one that is good. Because, you know, and I get it too. It's like we feel comfortable. We want to feel safe. We do the things that we know. But the more we start to just edge ourselves out of that, and again, this builds this resilience that I think is really important for people to be able to say, oh yeah, because the thing is, change is inevitable. And actually, having quarantine has shown us that. And yet a lot of us, it's challenging, right? So it's like, how do you get better at dealing with uncertainty? And again, it's something I work with people a lot, because we have to start to, like, uncertainty is part of life. But how can you get better at dealing with uncertainty? And it's just like, well, then try a class. Just try one. Like, you could try it with a friend, or you could try it by yourself. You can take your video off these days if you're doing it on Zoom, and just like try something a little bit different. If you think about when you were a kid, you probably tried a million things and didn't really think about it, because that was like your role as a kid, is to try new things. But I really actually think our role as people and as humans and as adults is also to try new things. And so for me, it's like, well, just, just try one thing, just give it a whirl. And in the book, it really is only do it 2 times if you can, because there's a lot around muscle memory. So even if you didn't like it the first time, go again and see if it's better. If it's still horrible, great, go to the next month, try something new. You know what I mean? Like, but at least give it a chance, because if you go only once, you're never going to make any progress. Like, at least give it a couple times and then see how it feels.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Nicole, have you noticed a difference in your body since you started this movement practice of like trying new things, when you go to a new class that you haven't been before and you're moving your body in ways that it hadn't moved, it hadn't connected those movements, the way that they do in a particular new activity that you're trying? Have you noticed anything different in your body or in your mind when you go into a new class now?
Well, I'm a lot more confident that I can do it. Like, I'm just more confident. And it's not even like confident that I can do it, because I couldn't always do it. But I was confident that I could at least give it a good try, and I wouldn't like completely not be able to do it. Like, there was always some part of it that I could do. And if you do enough movements, you'll find similarities. Like for me, like I tried so many different classes, but there were always some elements of something that felt familiar. And then there was always something new, right? And so I feel like core strength, for example, is like pretty common across the board in basically all movement activities. So core is good, right? Like a lot of core strength. But yeah, over time, I just found like, well, I found for myself mentally, like I just didn't really care if I wasn't good at it. Because if you're in a beginner class, nobody is good at it. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point, is that you're not good at it. That's why you're in the beginner class. And if you can and I found in all those classes I took, like almost everyone, literally every place I went had a beginner class. And I kind of laugh. I did this too with yoga. I didn't take beginner yoga. I went straight into like the advanced, medium, advanced classes, and it was totally hard and kicked my butt. And so I'm like, well, take the beginner class, because it's not actually about whether you're strong. It's actually learning the technique and the movement. And so if you can go in, take the beginner, learn how to do it, it'll actually be easier. Like I think some people go in too hard, too fast. They don't know how to do it, and then they don't want to go back. And I'm like, well, if you just take it down a notch, give yourself a chance to learn it, and then you might actually learn to like it. And if you still don't like it, that's fine. I still don't like running. I have tried running so many times, and I still don't like running. And I don't give myself a ton of grief around it, but if I have to run, I will, And so it's like, how can you just like give yourself a chance to try some stuff, see how it goes, and not make it a huge deal? But the more you do that, the better you are at not making it a big deal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was wondering, have you noticed any difference in like, like do you find that you have the stability muscles or the coordination there that maybe was unexpected because it's translating from always switching it up and doing different random things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, you can get really used to any kind of particular movement, like your body gets very used to it. And then when you do switch it up a lot, like I think I have, again, like that muscle of trying new things. Like my body knows how to try new things faster. Like I can pick up certain things. I actually like can visually mimic really well, which I think I learned over time because that was the only way I could keep up in like dance classes because I couldn't keep up with what they were saying, but I could watch them and imitate, right? Like that kind of a skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you never really know. And I always kind of laugh too. It's like we all have such different, like I understand my own body better. Like I just know what my body is capable of, what it's going to find really challenging or hard, what movements it's done before, you know. And then I loved taking classes where they like would make me engage muscles that I had never felt. And that was always really fun because then I'd be super sore the next day, right? Like that's always really cool because I always had like a baseline and then there was like, they would add things in. Circus, for example, if you're ever able to, it's not in the book, but I love circus classes because they are so hard. Like you're upside down and they're like, move your right foot this way. And you're like, I don't know where it is. It's just floating in space, right? And like stuff like that. Like it's just really fun to be challenged around where is your body, how are you moving it, and trying to do different things. Like I just think it's super fun.
Oh, that's great. There's a question here. Actually, you mentioned circus. The question is, have you tried trapeze? And then I wanted to kind of piggyback and ask where do people take circus class?
Yeah, so in Seattle, there's two great places. You could go to Emerald City Trapeze, which is where I've taken trapeze. Terrifying, but really fun because you are like 20 feet up in the air holding onto this thin bar and they're like jump and you're like, but you have to. So then
Oh my God.
Swing through the air. And then if you get to a certain, then you put your legs over the bar. And if you get to a certain point, a guy will catch you. And then it's crazy. Anyway, but trapeze is super fun. Also Sanka, the school for new acrobatics in Georgetown is also really great. And I think I actually just got a message that Emerald City is opening back up. So both of them have trapeze. Sanka is a little bit more kid oriented, but has tons of circus classes that are really cool. I learned unicycle there. They have trampoline. You could do gymnastics. Emerald City is a little more trapeze focused, but they have a ton of, I've taken, what is that called? It was like I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a circle, hoop. It's like a hoop in the air and you learn all this stuff around spinning in the air. And I've done wire walking, so hard, but really fun. Wow. Yeah, there's really cool stuff. The circus stuff, it's not in the book mostly because the smaller cities don't necessarily have it, but if you're in a city like Seattle, the circus arts is like an endless playtime and super challenging and really great.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. You got me excited. I want to check it out. Yeah. We got another question here. Did you pick the order of 24 movements in a certain way? And do you have a favorite?
Yes. Yeah, so it's designed to gradually there is a little bit of gradually and not at all, but they're generally more separated by season. So that there's a few that are winters, there's 2 or 3 months that are winter oriented sports. And then the rest of them tend to be summer, or you could do them indoors somewhere. So that's more the distinction for everything. And then I tried to balance every month from one intense movement and one movement that's like a little bit less intense, because I think it's just important to balance ourselves in general when it comes to physical movement. You probably can tell, well, there's two, I'm gonna have 2 favorites because it's my book, I'm gonna get to have 2. Walking, you probably could tell, I love walking. It's just, it's such a foundational thing that a lot of us underestimate at how great it is for you. And so it's in the first chapter and it's there for a reason. It's there because anybody who wants to move more can walk more. Like there's just very few people. I only know maybe 2 people who walk crazy amounts, that really everybody can walk more. But the other one I like in the book that I think is really unexpected is tree climbing. And tree climbing is one that I learned with Rafe Kelly, who's a parkour teacher in Seattle, and I really loved it. And it's just an awesome way to connect to nature. It's really natural. Actually, one of my favorite things, I had an event last week and my friends started texting me photos of their kids in trees. And if you have kids, your kids probably want to climb trees. And if you're the parent who's like, get out of the tree, maybe try going with, oh, maybe I'll try coming up to that lowest branch with you and like see how it goes. Because it's actually a very natural human desire to climb trees, and if you think about back in the day when you had to pick fruit out of trees, like you had to climb them, they didn't have ladders, right? So it's like, how do you like start to bring in really natural pulling movements into your body, getting access into a tree, getting close to I don't know, I like hugging trees when I climb them and like actually being really close to it. And so tree climbing to me is also one that you can do anywhere. Anyone can do it. Just find a tree with like a low branch. Don't go too crazy on it. Just get on a low branch and see how you feel. And then over time, as you get more comfortable, you might play a little bit more. But I like that because it's just an easy, natural thing that you can do as long as there's trees.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let's see. We're right at 8 o'clock. Do you have any last words of wisdom for us, Nicole?
Last words of wisdom. You know, I think for all of you who are interested, you're here probably because you're interested in moving more, and to just do it, right? Just to try it. And people used to always ask me how did I come up with so many ideas. And I was like, I have a friend called Google, and I would just look things up and I would just try new things. And so here's 24, right? To do that for yourself. And to remember too, that it's important to know why you're doing it. Like, what is it for you? Is it for the purpose of feeling better? Is it for joy? Is it for fun? Is it for energy? Is it to connect with your family? Is it to connect with yourself? And that is, if you can know why you're wanting to do it, it will help you a lot to motivate to actually do it. Like, again, for me, it's like movement is such a huge part of like helping people find their purpose. And so we have to prioritize it to help ourselves get to that place. So yeah, I don't know, move more.
Love it. Moving with intention. That's beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Oh my gosh, Maria, thank you. It's such an honor to have you here with me. It's so fun to have this conversation with you.
Indeed, it's so fun to listen, and you know, I've glanced through this book a little bit, and I just kept thinking, you know, as somebody who has a very active job but not much time to exercise, this is a book that booksellers need. So thank you, Nicole, for writing it.
I'm glad to hear that.
I think we all need it right now. And the book, of course, is 24 Ways to Move More. It's out, just out from our friends at Mountaineers Books, who are based here in Seattle. And so we're very glad to be supporting that book. Now, as promised, we dropped a little freebie in the chat at the end there. Nicole, do you want to tell us a little bit about that, or shall we just let people discover it?
Yeah, you can just go. It's called 3 Ways Movement Helps You Discover Your Calling. And so for those of you who are interested in like, how can movement be a more supportive practice in general for life, like that's for you.
Click on that link if that sounds like you, and check it out. Well, thank you so much, Nicole Tsong, Maria Hines. It has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you this hour, and I've learned some new things just sitting back here. I hope that all of you out there have as well. Again, links in the chat to purchase the books that we talked about tonight. The new one is 24 Ways to Move More. We've also got Yoga for Climbers, Yoga for Hikers, and Peak Nutrition, which includes that recipe for the PB&J granola bars, which I think I'm gonna make, because I think I need that in my life, absolutely. So do check those books out. We rely on your book purchase to keep going, keep doing what we're doing. We thank you so much, and wherever you are out there, thank you for joining us this evening. Be safe, be well, do good work, read good books, and move more. Absolutely. Put your shoes on and move more. Thank you so much, Nicole Tsong, Maria Hines.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Maria.
Take care. Thanks, Sam.